I woke before the sun, the air in the bedroom still cool and damp from the night before. The clock on the nightstand read 6:30 in the morning, a time I had learned to trust for the rhythm of my life. I slipped out of bed, careful not to disturb the quiet, and walked to the kitchen where the coffee pot was already humming. The scent of dark roast filled the room, a familiar comfort that had marked our mornings for years. I poured a cup, set it on the counter, and watched the steam curl into the air like a pale ghost. Sarah was still in the bedroom, her hair tangled around her pillow, the faint scent of her perfume lingering on the sheets. She had been the same person who had kissed me good morning in the hallway, whose laugh had bounced off the walls when we were young. I remembered the way she would lean over the stove, stirring the pot of oatmeal, her hands steady as a metronome. Those memories were a steady hum in my mind, a background soundtrack to the life we had built together. I felt a sense of contentment, a trust that had grown like a garden we tended together. I took a breath, closed the kitchen door, and made my way to the living room. The television was off, the sofa a familiar shape, the soft cushions that had cradled me during long nights of coding. I sat, pulled a blanket over my shoulders, and let the silence settle. I thought about the week ahead, the project deadline at work, the presentation I would give. My mind was a machine, efficient and precise, but today it seemed to stumble over a single, inexplicable feeling. A faint ache, a small thread of unease that I could not quite name. I turned on the television to check the news, but my eyes drifted to the photo on the coffee table. It was a picture of us at the beach, the sun setting over the horizon, her arm wrapped around my waist. The colors were saturated, the memory bright. I smiled, but the smile felt forced like a mask. I wondered if the photo was a reminder of a time before the subtle cracks began to show. Sarah had been different lately. She would stay late at the office, her face lit by the glow of her laptop, her hands moving quickly over the keyboard. She would come home tired, her eyes heavy, her voice distant. I had asked her about the long hours, but she would shrug, saying it was a project that needed finishing. She would laugh at my jokes, but her laughter would sound hollow, like a sound recorded on a faulty speaker. I told myself she was stressed, that we would get through it together. I tried to rationalize the changes, to convince myself that love was strong enough to weather any storm. The first clue came on a Thursday. I was in the office working late when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Sarah, but the tone was strange, almost playful. "Did you miss me?" it read. I stared at the screen, my heart thudding. I had never seen her send a text like that. I replied, "Yeah, I miss you too," and then I felt a coldness spread through my chest. I tried to think of a simple explanation, perhaps a joke, perhaps a prank. I could not shake the feeling that something was off. On Friday, I noticed that Sarah had left her phone on the kitchen counter, but the screen was off. I had never seen her leave it there before. I saw the phone, the battery icon blinking, the lock screen dark. I wondered if she had turned it off deliberately. I pressed the power button and the phone lit up, showing a new contact added. The name was a familiar one, the same one she had used to send me messages in the past. The contact was called Alex. I felt a cold wind gust through the room, a sudden sharp ache. I tried to breathe to keep myself calm, but the words felt like a stone in my throat. The next day, I found a photograph on her phone. It was a picture of a man I did not recognize, standing next to her in a crowded bar. The man was tall, his hair dark, his eyes a deep green. He was holding a glass of wine, his smile wide. He looked at the camera, and the photo was taken from a low angle, as if it were a candid shot. In the background, the bar lights were dim, the crowd blurred. The caption read, "Last night was fun." I stared at the photo, my mind racing. I remembered the night we had gone out for a drink, the laughter we shared, the way she had turned her head to look at me. The memory felt like a distant echo, the present feeling like a storm. Sarah had always been a woman of grace, a steady presence in my life. She had taught me to be patient, to listen. She had been my confidant, my partner, my friend. The betrayal that I was now seeing in front of me felt like a knife. My thoughts spun like a carousel, each turn a new possibility. I thought about the times we had promised each other to stay true, to be faithful. I thought about the vows we had spoken, the promises we had made. I wondered if I was being cruel to myself, if I was reading too much into the evidence. But the evidence was clear, the proof in front of me. I went home, the silence of the apartment thick, the only sound the ticking of the clock. I sat on the sofa, the blanket wrapped around me, and stared at the phone. I could not decide whether to delete the messages, to erase the evidence, or to keep them as a reminder of the betrayal. I thought about the future, about the life we had built together, the house we had bought,